Hi, I'm Dana Schwartz, and this is Rise or Die, the official companion podcast for Peacock's original series, Those About to Die. On this podcast, I go behind the scenes with the show's cast and creators to learn how they brought their brutal vision of Rome to life. I talked to acclaimed director and executive producer Roland Emmerich.
When I saw the first race, I was like giddy.
Actor Ewan Ryan.
For an actor, that's a dream, although you do get a lot of sand in your sandals.
And so many more.
You helped summon those ghosts back onto that stage.
Every day when I went to set, I was giggling about what I saw.
I think it's going to be a breathtaking thing.
Gosh, people will freak out.
Rise or Die launches on July 18th. Watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the small town of Chinook, where faith runs deep and secrets run deeper. In this new thriller, religion and crime collide when a gruesome murder rocks the isolated Montana community. Everyone is quick to point their fingers at a drug-addicted teenager, but local deputy Ruth Vogel isn't convinced. She suspects connections to a powerful religious group. Enter federal agent V.B. Lauro, who has been investigating a local church for possible criminal activity. The pair form an unlikely partnership to catch the killer, unearthing secrets that leave Ruth torn between her duty to the law, her religious convictions, and her very own family. But something more sinister than murder is afoot, and someone is watching Ruth. Chinook, starring Kelly Marie Tran and Sanaa Lathan. Listen to Chinook wherever you get your podcasts.
I think this area is being subjected to a controlled experiment.
Controlled by who? By the government? By a corporation? By reticulans?
They've done it before. DDT in the 50s, Agent Orange, germ warfare on unsuspecting neighborhoods.
Yes, but why, Mulder? Why would they intentionally create a populace that destroys itself?
Fear. It's the oldest tool of power. If you're distracted by fear of those around you, it keeps you from seeing the actions of those above.
Welcome to the eX-Files. That's the eX-Files, a buffering rewatch adventure where we are watching and discussing every episode of the X-Files one by one, spoiler-free. Sorry I'm late to the taping. The new issue of Celebrity Skin just arrived. I'm Jenny Owen Young's ex-wife of Kristin Russo, and I grew up watching the X-Files.
And I'm Kristin Russo, ex-wife of Jenny Owen Young's, and I'm here to tell you two things. One, I've only ever seen 27 episodes of the X-Files. Two, today we're talking about season 2, episode 3, Blood. And actually, I have a third thing to tell you, which is that Jenny is in a mood today. So
I'm here to have fun. Kristin.
I am going to ride this wave. You know what I'm saying? Let's go.
La la la. Blood. Blood is the name of the episode. The story is by Darren Morgan, the Fluky himself.
I know. I can't believe he showed up already.
Unbelievable. That was such a quick turnaround. The teleplay was written by Glenn Morgan and James Wong. Glenn Morgan and Darren Morgan are, of course, brothers. This episode was directed by David Nutter, and it originally aired on September 30th, 1994.
Do you think that Darren had the idea for this episode while he was inside of the Fluke suit?
Man, I hope so. I really hope so.
This is the one where, according to IMDb, Mulder and Scully investigate a series of violent killings committed by seemingly normal residents of a small town.
Producer LaToya gives this episode a scary ranking of 2.75 out of 5 experimental pesticides responsible for violent behavior. All right. She goes on, this episode knows how to work the spookiness and tension of the killings and the psychosis of those afflicted very well. Those scenes with Funch, the elevator guy, and Mrs. McRoberts, that's the score. But once Mulder and the local police and even the lone gunman get involved, all of that tension built up in those other scenes is gone and has to build up all over again. That's so interesting.
Yeah, that's
a great observation.
That's her vibe, and I agree with it, that like we kind of go on a little bit of a roller coaster ride of tension in this episode.
Up and down, up and down. So all of that got the ranking for LaToya up to 2.5, and she goes on to say the additional 0.25 I added to this rating is not actually because of scariness, but instead grossness that made me look away from the screen. The constant close-up on that little girl and her nose blood.
Yeah, you know?
Sussing out LaToya's weaknesses bit by bit.
Honestly, I was going to say,
I'm writing it down.
Her and Ed have something in common. They absolutely cannot stand the sight of blood, which I wrote in my notes when Ed says the word blood. I wrote it as blurred. Blurred. Jenny, big thoughts on this episode?
Oh, man. Okay, my big thoughts. We already said the story's by Fluky. My next big thought, Mulder's hair continuing to look like absolute shit. And my next thought...
Wait, pause, because Mulder... unless you're going to go deeper into Mulder's hair... I have something to say on that note, which is for those of you who don't know, I've started doing something called office hours in the Discord for patrons. And so we talk about the most recently aired episode, and then we also talk about the episode we're about to record. So the first office hours we talked about blood because it was next up. And we talked a lot about Mulder's hair, Jenny. And someone in the Discord said that he looked, I think it was Ken actually, who said Mulder looks like a baby duckling. Like his hair is just so soft and floofy. And so we started calling him Mulduckling. So I just want to introduce that here to the pod at large. We are in the era of the Mulduckling. So has it forward to so it has been decreed. Yes.
I hope it's not a spoiler to say, as I'm continuing my season 2 watch, I'm way ahead of the episode we're recording right now, and everyone in the episode I most recently watched, everyone is looking hotter than they've looked in a while.
Great.
It's a real good one. Can't wait to get to it.
Can you tell us, actually, that LaToya has been asking, we've been, discussing Gillian Anderson's pregnancy and how it's been impacting her presence in the scenes, in the episodes overall, that like, because they can't really have her body in the shots without revealing the fact that she is incredibly pregnant. We get in this episode, I noticed it way more on my second watch, so many like they're talking to each other, but like via their little diary entries, so that we can like have them seated and what have you. And so LaToya was wondering, and I am too, I don't think it's a spoiler, but do you have a mark for us that we're aiming for when like Gillian is kind of back in the fold in full form?
What I'll say is that I can't say.
Okay.
It wouldn't be right to say.
Okay.
I need to protect you at all costs. Okay. So I have nothing to say on this matter. That did just make me think of something LaToya had left in her notes about this episode as well, about how like, the story was by Darren, but Glenn and James wrote it because, quote, it had to be done really fast. I'm wondering if they were like batch recording Gillian's parts of episodes to make space for a maternity leave.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. Well, I hope we get her back soon. I mean, obviously, I'm always happy to see her, but I definitely my significant eye contact jingle is significantly underused at the start of season 2, and it's mostly because they're not in the same room very often.
I hate it.
You had another big thought that I interrupted.
My other big thought was, hey, it's William Sanderson from Deadwood. Have you ever seen Deadwood, Kristin? I can't remember.
I have not seen Deadwood, but I did.
You should watch it with Avanti. There's a sheriff. And it's the guy from Justified.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. A family affair. No, I saw that this actor was in Deadwood and also True Blood. He plays like the sheriff or something in True Blood, which is funny because, blood, True Blood.
Yep. This was his practice for that.
Yeah. They were like, hey, call that guy from that blood episode.
He seems to have experience with blood.
I liked this episode. This was fun. I had a good time. I also, before, I don't know if this is the spot for this, Jenny, but we talked about the term roast beefed in the first episode of the podcast for season 2. And we have an Ask an FBI agent, sort of a little pipeline to an FBI
on speed dial.
agent.
Yeah.
So I did get an answer for this. Is this real or not? Our source at the FBI says, yes. The roast beef story is told to us at Quantico. As legend has it, a new agent went into an Arby's because he was unhappy with the sandwich he got at the drive-thru. He pulled out his ID and demanded more roast beef. And then this, is this our deep throat? Is that...
Yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
From moving forward, I'm calling this source our deep throat. Our deep throat goes on to say, as the story is told, the consequences were severe. I'm not sure how many of the details in the cautionary tale were accurate, but it was just one of many examples of what not to do with your gun and your badge. You are never to use your authority or access or influence for your own personal benefit.
I think it's actually rude to me personally for anybody to be telling a story about somebody getting more roast beef during the season of Lent.
Wow.
I'm so hungry.
Wow. Jenny, I mean, I'm sorry to bring up roast beef, but I'm probably going to bring it up a lot because I really want you to start using this term. Like, I really want you to bring it into the fold and report back on how it went for you when you roast beef someone.
Well, usually when I buy like beer, the cashier will ask me to roast beef them because I am in the bloom of youth. I think they can't possibly believe that I'm old enough.
Jennifer, I believe you're stretching the meaning of roast beefing is using your credentials to say you deserve something you would not deserve.
Okay.
But we all think you look incredible for your age.
Thank you.
You look about the same age as me, so I think we both.
No, I look even younger than my very young age.
Okay.
I'm basically the first fetus to podcast.
Wow. Great. Cool. Good talk. Also, Jenny, something that was brought up in office hours that I thought was interesting and that I'm not sure that we have talked about. Erica over there said, "Hey, just noting that we're 3 episodes into the second season and this is a show called The X-Files that has not yet covered an X-File." And I was like, wow, good, solid point, Erica. 0 for 3.
Well, because the X-Files are shut down, Erica.
Sure. But do you think these will become X-Files? Well, this one won't be. Blood won't be.
No.
But like the host has to go. Look in H now, and I'm sure.
I think if they ever reopen the X-Files, I think Mulder has like a little home file going where he's keeping his own private notes and research, and those will get transferred to the filing cabinet if the X-Files ever get reopened.
They're just in a folder called XXX-Files so that people think it's porn and they don't open it, but really it's Mulder's private collection.
It must just be more issues of Celebrity Skin.
All right, Jenny, let's go to the post office in Franklin, Pennsylvania.
Can I just say, this looks so satisfying.
Oh, this fucking number keypad work.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Delicious. Absolutely. I would love to do it. It is satisfying to watch and it seems satisfying to do. Just one zip code at a time. Click, 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 click.
Oh yeah.
Also, did you spend any of your life around people who wore pocket protectors?
You know, I really haven't.
Me either, but I feel like you were probably a child who wished for a pocket protector. Is that true?
No, that is not true.
You didn't want one. You were fine with your
you
pockets.
Missed the mark.
Wow. Okay. I could just see little Jenny sort of being like, wow, I wish I could keep my pens in my pocket. I wish that there was...
I don't think I was wearing a lot of pocket shirts that I would put pens in.
That's true. The Jurassic Park shirts didn't have pockets usually.
Exactly.
They were usually T-shirts. Well, this man, Ed Funch.
That's right.
He has an incredible pocket protector, and he's also like really fucking good at his job. I write in my notes, incredible dexterity on this zip code input assignment. Ed's boss is also like, maybe this is arguable, but he seems like a really good guy. He seems like a really nice boss, you know? He has to fire Ed.
He feels really bad about it.
Yeah, but he feels bad. He's done like a collection so that they give him $100 on his way out. And
that's $206.98 in today's money.
Incredible. Are we going to play the Hell Math jingle for that or what?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hell Math.
Firing a man when he already has a paper cut, though, is a strike against this otherwise nice-seeming boss.
Listen, the most upsetting thing to me in this episode, unlike LaToya, who is upset by the bloody nose, I am upset when Ed, just at his job, having touched that dirty-ass keypad and those dirty-ass envelopes all day, sucks his blood off of his finger while his boss is also right there. It just feels like a lot of choices were made to get there, and I don't like it. But yeah.
Kristin, I'm going to send you a postcard. And I just want to double check. Is your zip code KILL or KILL space apostrophe EM? Or is it KILL space apostrophe EM space ALL?
It's actually KILL space apostrophe EM is me. So that's where you go to find me.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
The zip code machine, just like all the machines we'll see in this episode, have messages for Ed or someone else who is confronting a phobia of theirs. But Jenny, my favorite part about this, because let's just pause for a minute, okay? Let's take a step back. There's a pesticide or something like that being used that is allegedly combining with the fear, the adrenaline, I guess, that you have, or whatever the chemical is that is produced in your body when you have fear, to create an LSD-like effect, but that specifically comes out of machines. I try so hard to follow the order of affairs here, but because all I'm trying to do is laugh at the fact that everyone is hallucinating the shortened version of the word them. That's really all I want to do right now. But to get there, I have to try to parse what's happening, and then how
is it happening? Yeah.
I get confused because I left this episode being like, okay, so were those all hallucinations? Because Mulder brings up subliminal messages, and so that's where I get confused, because I'm like, wait, so what? Were we just hallucinating? Why did we have to bring subliminal messaging into the conversation? And we can get into more of that later. But, all that said, Jenny, the postcard, KILL space apostrophe EM for me.
Thank you.
How did you feel about the heartbeat score in this episode? The undercurrent. Yeah, really cool.
It's cool.
I thought especially because it's dealing with, what everyone's afraid of. Ed is afraid of blood, and we'll get to the other fears as we go on, but sort of this internal anxiety and hearing your own heartbeat accelerate as you're afraid. Very cool. Very cool. Credits.
Coming out of the credits. We're in an elevator. I feel claustrophobic just watching this scene.
Seriously, I don't understand how this man wound up in this position. He must have gotten on it by himself, and then it stopped at floor 4, and just the entire office got on with him, because this is horrible. It's jam-packed in there. The elevator is like, tell me how I'm supposed to breathe with no air.
Can't breathe, kill 'em all, dude.
Yeah, so this man is being told by the elevator to kill all of the passengers in the elevator because he's afraid. The other thing that I don't understand, and I guess I'm just wasting all of our time here on the podcast, but if the machine wants the man to kill the people on the elevator because that'll make more space in the elevator if they're all dead, or just murder is the solution. And then
murder's the solution.
Murder's just the solution no matter what. And even though Ed is at his house, he needs to go to the blood drive to kill everyone? ? I just have a lot of questions. Anyway.
He wants to stop the extraction of blood because he hates blood outside of a body.
But he's going to be shooting to Mulder's later point. He is not doing it
it's not his concern.
Okay. Anyway.
Okay. In no time at all, what was once an elevator lobby is now a crime scene. There are bodies scattered about. A local sheriff has requested the FBI, and Mulder's here to help. So, Kristin, get a load of this. The guy in the elevator went ballistic and killed 4 people with his bare hands. And listen, this is the disturbing part. The man who did the murder was 42 years old. So 42 in 1994 years, I've just based by taking a look at this guy, is around 58 in 2024 years.
Okay. So we're saying this
Me
elderly
and the elevator murder guy are the same age.
The elderly murderer was able to somehow, despite his breaking bones and his withered self, kill all these people.
Yeah,
with his
if
hands.
his body feels like my body, I don't understand how he's killing people with his bare hands.
It's also so
more power
bloody.
to him.
Like, it's so bloody for bare hands. Like, that's a lot of blood for barehanded murder, if you ask me.
I'm scared.
A person who has never murdered anyone with my bare hands.
That you know of.
That I know of. So, okay. Listen, I have a few things. Mulder is on the scene. He is not answering. He is not speaking to this man. He is simply there to do his job. And Jenny, I'm letting you know well in advance of when we get to our superlative. Mulder is the smuggest bitch of this fucking episode.
I think you're actually wrong, but we'll talk about it.
Okay, I do have a second runner-up, but I'll wait till we get to our superlative.
Okay.
They have this, when we learn he's 42, they have this exchange that I feel is just very common in television and also life. Like, this isn't supposed to happen here in our small town. And Mulder...
Well, Kristin, since colonial times, there have only been 3 murders in this area. The last time somebody murdered somebody here with their bare hands, they were wearing a powdered wig, is what I'm getting from this.
Yes, and I like Mulder's response to this. So a man murders 4 strangers with his bare hands. That's actually not supposed to happen anywhere, sir. Like,
great point, Mulder.
The implication that, like, crime is only meant for big cities is just, like, a whole thing. You know, really.
Crime is only meant for big cities. And also, Kristin, according to this police officer, apple and cherry growers don't drink much.
Oh my God.
Certainly don't do drugs.
I was like, I feel like if you surveyed the like country, that probably the rates of alcoholism and drug addiction in small farming towns is gotta be met. I have not done this research, but I just feel like rural areas are not in anyone's mind. Like the false idea that cities are the only place where crime happens, like that seems like, oh yeah, maybe like someone might believe that because of the way that cities are portrayed. It's just bizarre to me that we're saying that these farmers simply have never touched a drop of alcohol or done a single drug.
A wise man named Brad Paisley, patron saint of rural farming communities, once said, rain makes corn. Corn makes whiskey. Whiskey makes my baby get a little bit frisky. You do the math, Kristin.
You guys, I fucking warned you that she was in a mood, so
I'm just saying.
Anyway,
this cop's got a lot of big unfair ideas.
And this sheriff is correct. The autopsies show no alcohol, no substances of any kind, like drug use or anything like that. There is an OJ, like an offhanded OJ reference here, and then we see some OJ footage later. This is definitely the era of the OJ Simpson. Trial, and we learn that all of the suspected killers have been killed.
That's 7 people killing 22 people in the last 6 months, bringing this town's per capita murder to higher than the combined totals of Detroit, DC, and Los Angeles.
It's like,
yow.
The sheriff just sitting there with his little fucking abacus, being like, click, 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 click. Oh,
click, click, clack. Okay. Huge development in Mulderland.
Mm-hmm.
The cop is like, I played softball with this guy. He didn't mind getting stuck in right field. Mulder is instantly on the defensive. What's wrong with right field? You gotta have an arm to play right field. The cop is continuing to give him information and like talk through stuff. And Mulder's like, I played right field. We're like, we know. We could tell before you said.
You know, does the FBI have a softball league? You know, like
for sure.
Show me the footage. Show me Scully and Mulder on the same softball team playing. They're the only 2 people on the team for the X-Files. Funch is at the ATM, and here's LaToya's favorite part of the episode. The little girl behind him has a bloody nose. The ATM says, "Security guard, take his gun. Kill 'em all."
I just feel like either the hallucinations are like two the same, or like it's like the coincidence of like everyone getting the same messaging, or there's some kind of like intentional kind of messaging being distributed. But how?
And that is not the case that we've investigated by the end of this episode. So in my canon, this is simply their phobias, triggering hallucinations to read the text on the screen to tell them to do these things, to kill or whatever. So fine. But then LaToya also has in her production notes that like there's sort of like a fear-based message, but then there also seems to be this like predictive message. And like you can say like, okay, maybe Funch knew that he saw the security guard when he turned around to see the girl with the bloody nose or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like later when we get to the bus and it's like, get off, they're waiting for you. It's like, how are the messages also wise to the movements of the FBI?
Yeah.
So
it's actually Mulder transmitting the messages.
A much more a much more important development after Funch punches the ATM and leaves his card behind is that we learn the difference between a spree killer and a serial killer, Jenny.
Yeah, Mulder is tracking some things in his, what I've decided to start calling a diary.
Oh, nice. What's the girl version of it? A gurnal?
Just a diary.
Oh, well, I thought that you called girl journals gurnals. So is it gurnal? That's diary, which honestly sounds like none of my business somehow, but I don't know why.
Gurnal being a girl journal is just airtight logic that actually never occurred to me previously, but I celebrate it.
Great.
Okay, so what makes it a spree killing? I'll tell you, Kristin. There's no regard for anonymity, and there's no regard for survival of the perpetrator.
Yeah. He says, Mulder explains in his diary, it's a directional diary too, because it's to Scully. He's saying that all the people who have been killed are middle-income responsible people. None of them have a history of violence. But he's convinced there is an outside factor. He wants to know what this residue is that he found underneath the fingernails of Elevator Man.
He's just so intuitive.
This is famous Mulder, famous profiler Fox Mulder, you know. This is him at work, and we get an amazing moment where he starts to talk about UFOs, and at home Scully is like reading it, and she says out loud, "I was wondering when you were going to get to that." And then the next thing Mulder says is, "I find no evidence for that to be the case." And she's like, "Touché, Fox Mulder." And then we learn that electronic equipment has been destroyed at every scene so far.
But he says, Scully, I've never had a more difficult time developing a profile.
It sounds like Mulder's being a bit of a drama queen. You know what I mean? Little dramatic, Sir Mulder.
Well, if you think he's being dramatic before this line, consider how dramatic you'll think he's going to be after this line when he says there's no way to know who will be a killer or who will be killed.
I'm sorry. It's just, remember when he like spent his entire career developing a profile on Eugene Toombs, who like goes away for 30 years and makes himself a cocoon of sludge and like eats livers one by one? I just feel like never had a more difficult time developing a profile, sir. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to this next scene in the mechanic's garage. This is a miss for me big time. This is the point in the episode where I'm like, did we really need a phobia of rape? As they were like, well, we need to have a girl. They're all boys, so we need to have a girl. What are girls afraid of?
I can only think of one thing. But it's a special phobia.
It's a special phobia actually based on like legitimate fucking life experiences by most. Here's the thing. I don't want to be in that elevator crowded, but claustrophobia, like that's a real thing where like you feel like you can't breathe because you are in a tight little space. Being afraid of blood, that's a real thing. The blood's not going to hurt you. You know, you're okay. You're actually okay. Being in a dark garage with a man by yourself who keeps saying, come over here, as one light is cascading on his cheekbone just feels like any woman in this situation would be afraid, which is why I take issue with it.
Yeah, totally. What I really take issue with is how is this man getting anything done with one little exposed bulb?
Honestly.
This is the darkest business that has ever been open.
I just think that they like shot themselves in the foot a bit by like, I mean, I don't think that the choice to make this woman's phobia rape was a good choice for any reason. But like, if you're going to make it that she's like afraid of violence from men or whatever, give us a well-lit area. Give us something where like any woman watching this could be like, oh, I wouldn't have felt afraid in that scenario. Not one where like literally any woman watching it is like, yeah, I would definitely probably just leave. Like I would not fucking walk over to this man, you know? This woman is played by Kimberly Ashland-Gear, who she goes by Ashland-Gear now, but she, and I learned this from LaToya and then did some more research, she's a former porn star, and they cast her as a suburban housewife, though I'm not sure that we get too much evidence of necessarily that she's a suburban housewife. Husband not found.
I mean, she has a husband.
She says.
Who's away.
So
she lives in a house that feels very suburban. Kristin.
Yeah.
Not only is Ashland-Gear an American pornographic film actress who has also performed in mainstream film and television, at this moment, while she is on the X-Files, she is like one of the most popular performers. Let me run down some awards for you. We've got Best Actress at the AVN Awards. We've got Best All-Girl Sex Scene. Woohoo! The AVN Awards in 93. Best Group Scene in 93. Female Performer of the Year in 93. Again in 95, Best Actress. And Best Couples Sex Scene. She's in the AVN Hall of Fame. There are various other adult film awards that she has won for Starlet of the Year. More Best Actress. Best girl scenes. Listen, there's just like a lot of her work being appreciated. Mulder probably has a lot of VHS tapes of Ashland-Gear back at his apartment.
Absolutely.
So I think it's like particularly interesting that it's not like, I feel like typically you see somebody who is like maybe like an actor in like mainstream television and then like later in life they make this transition or something. But this was going on at the same time. And I think it's very cool.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing that's cool is that this character has the strength of 10 men, because when the machine starts telling her he's lying to you, because he's like, you know, well, this is broken and this other thing is broken. And by the way, you need to get this fixed. And this is supposed to be whirring around at 50 bits per second. And it's only whirring around at 2 and blah, blah, blah. The machine is like, liar, he's a liar. He'll rape you. He'll kill you. Kill him first. She takes, I don't even know exactly what this is. Because
some kind of like funnel or something.
Right. It's like definitely, it seems like it would have a blunt edge. It does not seem like what she uses to kill this man has a sharp edge. And she pushes it through his entire body. And he dies. Also,
hell yeah, Mrs. McRoberts.
If you don't want to, men in dark garages, you know, turn a light on for us.
First, turn a light on for sure
for us ladies, and for your own, you know, for your own work, but also maybe
for your rods and cones, buddy.
If you don't turn the light on, could you at least not whistle? Because if you whistle, I am 100% convinced you are going to do something horrible to me. Don't do it, okay? Not in the dark. No, thank you. Jenny, before we go to the crime scene bit of this, I wanted to just say that I loved the blood spatter on her heels. I thought it was a very cool little shot. And I also love the fact that this lady does not give a fuck. She's just like, bye, and then goes home.
As a podcast network, our focus is bringing you shows you love to listen to. But we also sell merch related to those shows. And partnering with Shopify has made that both possible and simple for us to do. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor adventures, Shopify helps you sell everywhere because they've got you covered, from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. What's so fantastic about Shopify is how, no matter how big you want to grow, they provide everything you need to get control of your business so you can take it to the next level. Businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm. That's all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/realm. As a podcast network, our focus is bringing you shows you love to listen to. But we also sell merch related to those shows. And partnering with Shopify has made that both possible and simple for us to do. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor adventures, Shopify helps you sell everywhere because they've got you covered, from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. What's so fantastic about Shopify is how, no matter how big you want to grow, they provide everything you need to get control of your business so you can take it to the next level. Businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm. That's all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/realm.
It's pretty clear to everyone by now that social media has changed everything from the way we live to how we discuss politics and what we think we know about the world around us. Which begs the question, who's in charge here? Hi, I'm John Favreau, former Obama speechwriter turned chronically online host of Offline with John Favreau. Join me every week just outside your social media-fueled echo chamber for a smarter, lighter conversation about the real-time changes and real-world effects of social media and the internet on all of our lives. Check out Offline with John Favreau every Sunday wherever you get your podcasts.
Wow. So it takes Mulder about 5 seconds to clock a little computer at the crime scene, and he's all like, well. Then who should appear but Larry Winter, county supervisor? You might remember him as the head of the fertility clinic in Eve.
Oh, okay. This is the guy that looks like he spent like 10 minutes right before each scene in a tanning bed that like slowly sprayed him with tanning fluid.
Yes, and he looks distinctly like someone who has a ponytail, even though he doesn't have a ponytail. It's so strange. I don't know how he does it. Kristin, drink, because Mulder says, pardon my rubber, drink.
Oh, is that on our Mulder drinking bingo card?
I just think, like, if Mulder speaks a double entendre, you drink.
I drink. Okay, great. I would make sure to bring a beverage with me next time to our recording.
Okay.
All right. So it turns out Mulder's over to this little clipboard, and he finds that the reason that she was there with her car is because the readouts on the dashboard were smashed.
He's like an electronic piece of equipment.
I just want to know who is in the car. Like, what happened in the car?
It was just her. Well, we already know that she's really strong. So she punched it for sure.
But she got afraid
what was
of
happening in the
something-
car.
yeah.
She just saw, I don't know.
Just,
you think somebody was in the car with her? Is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah, like, is her husband dead? Is kind of what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, was her husband in the car, and did her husband do something bullshit, and did she get afraid of him for that, and then did she smash the dash and kill the husband?
Oh my God.
I just finished watching Fargo season 2, so I'm like, did she also kill the husband, and that's why the car is in the shop, you know?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. So Mulder has put all his pieces together, and he's decided this actually is not a standalone case. This is connected, despite the fact that it's not in a public area, despite the fact that nothing electronic was smashed on the scene, etc. And so they go to the house of Mrs. McRoberts. She's just making an English muffin. She's just making an English muffin. Why not?
She's late for work, but she hasn't made her breakfast yet.
And also doesn't have a car, we're to assume, because
it's the most important meal of the day.
The microwave is here to tell her he knows. Kill them both. No one went. Did you know, Jenny, that when you're anxious, you actually never think the word them ever? It's just a known fact about anxiety.
Kill them.
Now, I didn't go back and freeze frame this, but the second time that I watched this, I'm pretty sure that on the wall of Mrs. McRoberts' house, there is a framed collage of just collies, the breed of dog. It looked like a piece of
That's a very 1994 dog breed.
Yeah, seriously. It looked like maybe like a piece of pink construction paper, and it looked like Mrs. McRoberts, perhaps, just to ease her anxiety, just likes to cut out photos of some collies and glue stick them on.
God.
And
Mrs. McRoberts, secret dog fancy subscriber.
Yeah.
So excited
Mrs.
when in
McRoberts.
October, the October issue has a collie on the cover.
Mrs. McRoberts is to dog fancy as Mulder is to celebrity skin, you know?
So true.
Okay, so Mulder asks her about the dash, and she breaks immediately. I did it.
I didn't see that coming.
Me either. You know, speaking of things that you didn't see coming, Jenny, Mulder doesn't see it coming that this woman who has her whole hand in an open drawer with her French manicured fingernail stroking a knife for at least 20 seconds might be about to take that knife out and stab him. I just feel like, sir.
That ain't right.
I also, I understand that she has a kitchen knife and has cut Mulder's little arm, but it does not seem like that would have required the sheriff to shoot and kill her, though. What am I talking about, right? Of course it would. But it's not like this lady had a gun. She literally nicked Mulder's arm and probably could have been restrained with force.
Hard to imagine a police officer overreacting.
Hard to, I know. But that's, this is why it's a fictionalized show,
Right.
Things are really dramatized for effect. So back at Quantico, Scully has, she's got some facts, Jenny. Tell us all about it.
Bonnie's adrenaline was 200 times the norm.
That's a lot of adrenaline, Jenny. That
is
at least
an unbearable amount of adrenaline.
At least 6 cups of coffee. At least.
If I had that much adrenaline coursing through my veins, I might actually stop recognizing the word them and only understand the word M.
You know what's interesting is I actually think you might have that much adrenaline coursing through your body.
Why am I like this right now?
My favorite part of Scully's report is that she has extracted something from the eyeball that has similarity to the substance found underneath the claustrophobic man's fingies. So we're getting somewhere. And this is where she puts fingy gunk and eyeball gunk together to get to... Sorry, her theory that the phobia combined with the substance might have an effect like LSD. Bum, bum, bum.
What does Agent Scully know about LSD?
Absolutely nothing. Mulder, on the other hand, definitely knows a thing or two.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, God. Funch is going to apply for a job. He's so sweaty. There's a blood drive tape. Everything's going wrong for old Ed Funch.
Oh, my God. You're not wrong. And just when you think it can't get any worse, the television display starts showing him a loop of some disturbing, timely images.
Yeah, these are all, this is really like a time capsule of the things happening in the U.S. at this moment. We've got Charles Manson. We've got Rodney King and Reginald Denny. We've got the Waco compound and then O.J. Simpson police chase. But it's basically just like all of these very, very big moments in all of our collective consciousness right at this moment when this show is being
that
made.
Are all either directly or adjacently attached to violence.
Yes. Oh no. Listen, here's a tip. If all 6 to 12 televisions in a stack go to static at the same time, you got to leave. You just leave.
Yeah,
right
just get
then.
out
Just
of there. Don't listen to what they have to say. If they say behind you or, God forbid, behind M, get out of there. Don't look at the guns that the TVs are trying to direct you towards.
The only thing contained in static is evil. That's what I have to say, okay? Don't look into it.
Isn't there static at the end of the Ring video?
You keep bringing up the Ring. Do you want to know something, Jenny? Do you want to know? I'm going to tell you the truth.
I'm ready.
I've never fucking seen the Ring. Like a lot of images are conjured for me when
Kristin,
I think of the Ring.
I'm so sorry to tell you this, but we are going to be hosting a group watch of the Ring.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm really sorry.
I don't want to.
But that's you're gonna have to watch it, and other people are gonna have to experience you.
Oh.
Other people are gonna get to experience you watching it.
Great. Well, I'll make sure it's when Avanti is on the road, because there's no fucking way she's gonna watch the Ring.
Yeah, the Ring would kill Avanti. Avanti would finish watching the Ring, and her face would just be twisted in the death masks of the people who die in the Ring from watching the Ring video.
Okay. Mulder's on a little jog. He got stabbed so bad, but it's not bad, guys. He's just on a little jog. He's fine. So there's this truck. It is dumping dead flies on the side of the road. Jenny, they actually talk about the real story that this all is based on. In the 80s, there's a substance called malathion. I think they say it in the episode, and I still don't know how to say it. But it was a substance that was being, put on the crops in California. And the eco-terrorists heard of them. They fucking were in the LED bug episode from last season.
Yep.
But real-life eco-terrorists were saying that anytime they found out that this chemical was being dropped on crops, they would release this fruit fly called the medfly that would destroy crops. Like, basically, the more this chemical was being dropped, the more flies they would send out into the California fields or whatever. First of all, this person/group of, I imagine you need to be more than one person to release large amounts of med flies, but
unless you're like the Lord of the Flies.
Oh, right. That's true. But they didn't call themselves the Lord of the Flies. They should have called themselves the Lord of the Flies.
Missed opportunity.
They called themselves the Breeders. And yeah, when the article, so I got this article in office hours, and when the article was sent and I opened it and it was like, who were the Breeders and were they responsible for California's strangest case of eco-terrorism? I legit for a minute was like, the musical group?
Kim Deal?
The Breeders. Anyway, the thing that I want to tell you about this real life version of this episode is that the director of the California Conservation Corps, this guy, B.T. Collins, to prove to the public that malathion was safe, drank a small glass of it in front of news cameras. So, you can read all about that on your own time. But this is this story is basically the guy.
Did he die?
He didn't die. He's actually okay. It turns out that substance didn't really do a good job doing what it was supposed to do anyway, so it's not used anymore. But
oh my god.
But yeah,
it's not quite deadly enough.
Anyway, back to our flies, our actual flies. Jenny, of course, he's gonna go where?
He's got to go chat with the lone gunman.
The lone gunman, Garth, Sheldon, and I. Off mic told Jenny I cannot remember what I called Frohickey. So Garth, Sheldon, and Frohickey, the three gunmen. The three lone gunmen. Okay, so they have some stuff to share with Mulder, because Mulder, of course, can't go to Scully. She is too pregnant to discuss flies.
Yeah, what do you think your pregnancy threshold is for talking about government laced flies?
Honestly, Whenever anyone is doing anything and they are past like the 8-month place in a pregnancy, I just don't understand it at all. I don't understand how Gillian Anderson is just acting. I don't understand how Scully would ever talk about flies. I don't understand how anyone does anything, because at 8 months pregnant, I would be sitting in my house on my couch, eating popcorn, drinking water, laying down on my bed.
Right?
Like, just, that's it. I am the vessel for a large human. I should not be asked to do anything else. That's my opinion.
Certainly not explain the nature of LSDM.
Certainly not.
The chemical you have in that report is called lysergic dimethrin. It's an unreleased experimental synthetic botanical insecticide. It attempts to act as a natural pheromone.
LSDM is sprayed on the plant, which invokes a fear response in the pest. You know, get out of here, there's danger. The insect reacts and leaves the plant.
Why won't they release it? Is it possible it affects humans in the same way?
Is it possible it affects humans in the same way? Mulder just throwing bullseyes from like outside of the bar. He's throwing the dart through the window into the bar, hitting a bullseye all the time.
They show this footage, and I did not look up to see if this is real footage, but it definitely appears to be real footage of DDT. It is simply being sprayed upon people, similarly to how we will see Mulder get sprayed in the next scene. I have this memory of my dad telling me how when they were kids, they would go and run behind the machines that sprayed the chemicals. Like, literally, that was a game they played as children.
Like, kind of like running through the sprinkler.
Exactly. Like Long Island fun games, just run behind the machine spraying chemicals.
Wow.
But anyway, DDT, I'm assuming folks already know about this chemical. It was really bad for, I mean, here's the thing. You said Mulder's standing outside the window, throwing the dart into the bar and hitting the bullseye. But, like, the generalized concept that chemicals that alter the biological composition of one thing, altering the biological composition of another thing, is not that hard to figure out. How are we doing these things to our crops? How are we doing these things to our bodies? It's not, come on. Oh, okay. Anyway, to the crops. Frohicke said that he would only let Mulder borrow his night vision goggles if he could have Scully's phone number. You know that Mulder probably gave him a noogie and then took the fucking goggles and left, you know?
Yeah, Mulder would never give Frohicke Scully's number, right?
Never. Mulder's a lot of things, but he would never put Scully in a position to have to deal with Frohicke. He knows what kind of dude Frohicke is, and he does not want to subject Scully to that. Plus, I mean, he wants to date Scully, so. My first note in the crops is more Mole Duckling, because we've got a lot of light backlit.
I wrote, when Mulder's haircut is backlit, it is somehow even worse.
Yeah.
Could you tell if this was an apple orchard or a cherry orchard?
I couldn't, but I didn't try.
I was like squinting at the leaves.
Jenny was raised in farmland, New Jersey, so like actually does have the intel.
Yeah, actually, half of my family is from a town that's like about an hour away from Franklin, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. They would probably have
doing a lot of farming up there.
Oh, they would probably have had a lot to say to us, Jenny, about the use of chemicals, you know? Like, they were right there.
The use of chemicals, and also, like, how much farmers drink. I'll tell you that my grandfather, who had grapes, was like grapes and I think apples were like his primary crops, but he had like a farm stand where like he sold his produce, but he also sold like winemaking kits. Like, it was like a lot of people like wanted the grapes and then they wanted to ferment them themselves and make wine. So I'm just saying, you know, that sounds like people drinking in a very rural farmy area.
Definitely. Also, I'm sure we've talked about it on the podcast, or at least one of the podcasts before, but it should be mentioned in an episode that takes place in an apple farming town that Jenny's mom was actually named the Apple Queen, if I'm correct.
Oh, shit. Here we go.
So, Jenny, we should get Roxy's permission, but if you could find the picture of Roxy as the Apple Queen, I would love to share it with our listeners. It's pretty fucking epic. So...
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
I'll see what I can do.
Great. Meanwhile, Mulder is on the fucking grass just drinking whatever this LSDT. That's what it's called.
LSDM.
LSDM.
Okay. In the medical exam room, Larry Winter is like, you have a penchant for, looks directly into camera, spooky evidence. This is further support for LaToya's proposal that maybe this show doesn't know what the word spooky means.
100%. Also, I find
Scully's head whips up.
I just find it hard to believe that in Franklin, Pennsylvania, this guy has heard about Mulder's spooky reputation, you know?
Right? It's 1994. He's not like Googling Mulder.
He gives him the classic "I'm the father of a daughter" defense against why he is not spraying. You don't live here. I live here. I have my heart in this town. I have 3 daughters. I'm the father of a daughter. Do you think fathers of daughters spray chemicals in their towns? The sheriff the sheriff is not my favorite character to have ever graced the X-Files because I feel like his arc is kind of a cool one on the paper, but it does not land for me.
On the paper?
On the page. I feel like it doesn't land for me in the performance. All respect to this actor, but it's just like when we get to this point where the sheriff is saying to this guy, answer the question, are we spraying? Like, I want the kind of tension. Remember, speaking of the LED bugs, remember back in that episode, what is the name of that episode? Darkness Falls. In Darkness Falls, we had like the sheriff and then like the deputy sheriff or whatever. And the sheriff was a real dickhead and got like, eaten by the LED bugs. Great. But like there was a tension there that felt...
That guy was not the sheriff.
The guy in charge, the tree chopper lieutenant.
Yes, tree chopper.
Yeah. And like, I just feel like the tension between them was compelling and interesting.
Yeah,
and I
totally.
did not get that here.
We're not getting it here.
No.
So, right. Winter goes on and on about how it's really safe. Ultimately, Scully says, I'd love to say I flew here to tell you you're going to be the next Charles Manson, but you are not toxically affected by this spray. In my opinion, smuggest bitch of the episode.
Oh, okay. Wow. We're pitting Scully and Mulder against each other. Are we going to do a poll for which one's the smuggest bitch?
Perhaps.
I mean, if we disagree, maybe we have to send it to the vote.
Yeah, I think that might be responsible.
So... This guy says that it was proven to him that this chemical was safe. He won't say who proved it to him. And the sheriff gets him to agree to a compromise pretty quickly where they'll stop using the chemical. They'll test everyone, but the only way they'll do that is by not admitting what they're testing for. Before all of this happens, after Scully is a smug bitch, according to Jennifer Owen Young, the television fakes out Mulder by flashing, do it now. And then it's like a lady in a gym t-shirt where it's like, join for $15.99 a month. Great.
Now, wasn't that the same font as the LSDM messaging?
But it isn't actually. It isn't the same font. It's just a regular font, I think. It's not like a
Oh wait, is that the first time we see an actual font instead of like a
greeny font? But I think even when we see the
calculator words, calculator letters.
But I think even when it's a font, I feel like the LSD font is a sans serif, and maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that the gym ad was a serif font. Then Mulder, I thought of you, Jenny, because Mulder basically slams his folder down on Scully's little desk and says, Scully, have you ever heard of the subliminal messages alien? And she's like, okay, I take it back. You know what? You fucking are paranoid, you asshole. We started with the sound clip up at the top, which is Mulder's reasoning, right? He's like, this is a controlled experiment. They've done it before. Scully actually might take the lead on Smuggest Bitch.
I told you.
In this moment, you're right.
She's got 3 points on her side of the line.
Yeah, I forgot about her. What is it? The reticulans dig from Scully. That's pretty smug. But Mulder says that he thinks that this is happening because of fear. He says fear is the oldest tool of power. If you're distracted by the fear of those around you, it keeps you from seeing the actions of those above. Seems like perhaps we're talking about a little bit more than the chemicals and the pesticides in Franklin, Pennsylvania.
Kristin, are you drinking what I'm drinking?
I'm just saying. Like, he's talking about the aliens here. That's all. I'm just saying. We're not just talking about fucking chemicals.
Oh, when you say the actions of those above, you don't think he's talking about like the hierarchy, the power structure?
No, I do, but I think
reticulans.
But I think he's saying that if they are distracted by the things that are happening right in their orbit, they're not going to see the things that are happening where Smoking Man lives. You know what I mean? Like
right.
That's what he's talking about. I think in this moment, in addition to
yes,
whatever. Yeah. Okay, so free cholesterol testing. Hooray! It's actually testing to make sure we didn't kill you with the chemicals we sprayed on your crops.
Terrible, terrible news for Eddie. He does not want his blood collected.
Points to Ed. He battled it for a long time. He really tried to
Valiant
not kill them
effort.
all.
M all.
Kill
please.
M all, sorry. The doorbell rings. Here's a fun trivia fact that I found accidentally, which is that, by the way, my second runner-up for Smuggest Bitch before you brought Scully into the conversation was this fucking bitch on the doorbell. Are you kidding me, man?
Well, that could actually, it's possible that she's not actually going buzz, 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 but in Edward's mind, he's hearing buzz, 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 buzz.
Well, Jenny, did you know that the doorbell, but you are right, because the doorbell pattern actually spells out kill in Morse code. I know. Good shit.
I love it. I love it.
He knocks a calculator to the ground. He picks it up. It says boobs, which is not really in keeping with the rest of the episode.
Hell yes, Kristin.
We all thought it. Like I said it
totally.
I said it in office hours, and LaToya said that was actually my first production note, but I took it out because I didn't feel it was professional. I said, "You better not hold out on us, LaToya."
Yeah, not the only, but the thoughts I want most from LaToya are the thoughts about boobs typed out on a calculator.
Yeah, boobs typed out on a calculator, hot aliens with tits. Like, come on, LaToya. So he smashes every electronic device in his fucking house, including a really gorgeous turntable and receiver that I was personally saddened to see go. And then he takes the gun and he leaves.
I love that they gave the sheriff a map to point at. This is a map of the sectors that tested negative. Here's a list of people who haven't checked in yet. The next person on the list, like below all the names that are crossed out, Edward Funch.
Fucking, they get to the door. Ed has ripped the doorbell from its socket, which honestly, like, relatable content. If somebody fucking...
I would have done the same.
Yeah. This scene I meant to say with the woman buzzing at the door and him seeing everything on all the electronics reminded me of the scene from Requiem for a Dream where she's inside with the refrigerator, like it, which I think is like scary. To LaToya's point, what this episode does really well, like that scene from Requiem for a Dream, along with a couple of others, are burned into my mind for all of eternity. But because it's so terrifying, and you feel like you're inside of the mind that is being haunted, is being whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think that they do a really good job. David Nutter, again, doing some good shit, and really makes you feel the like panic that Funch is feeling when he leaves the house. So, Mulder and Scully go in, they see all of the smooshed electronics.
And an empty gun case.
When Mulder, I'm making Avanti watch all the episodes with me this season. We'll see how far we get, but we're 3 for 3 on season 2. And when Mulder puts his hand on the foam in the gun case, she was like, "Is he checking? Is it like warm? Like, is he like the gun was just here? I can feel its presence."
Oh my god, he must have just missed it. Sad news. Edward Funch's wife died 10 years ago.
That is sad news. And he hasn't seen
This
a doctor
poor man.
in decades. Do you think that her death, do we find out how she died? Because maybe her death involved.
I don't think so.
I wonder if her death
Blood.
was
A lot of blood.
Exactly. Like, I wonder if his fear
Edward.
is rooted in the loss of his wife. There's this moment where they Scully's like, he hasn't seen a doctor in decades, and Mulder is like the math meme and is like, oh, he's probably afraid of blood. He picks up the watch, and the watch is smashed and has stopped at 10:30, which is exactly when the woman was ringing the buzzer to come collect blood samples. It's just like a little bit much, but okay. Mulder knows now where he's going. He's going to get involved in this blood drive. Shout out to William Sanderson for this scene.
His screaming.
The way he screams at
His
this
screaming
bus
is
driver.
so good.
It's so good. I'm like,
amazing.
he probably needed to sit down and have a glass of water after this take, because that is like, he really gives
buck
it
wild.
to us. Yeah. So he gets on the bus, he gets off the bus.
And he's ultimately headed for this clock tower. I have an idea.
Yeah.
Maybe every clock tower, we have somebody at the bottom who doesn't let dudes with duffel bags go up.
Yeah, I agree. Because this is
Just a
really
thought.
reminiscent of, just in our universe of watching television shows, this is Earshot adjacent. This is, where Jonathan goes in Earshot in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But also, yeah, I agree. I also think that this clock tower is so beautiful, and I didn't finish my research on this, but I was like, where is this? Like, what's happening here? And when I found what I think was listed as the shooting location, and I Googled that location, there was like a very shiny new kind of mirrored building there, and I was sad. And I don't know yet if I actually have cause to be sad, but I feel like maybe this clock tower is no more. It's so cool. Like the yellow glass inside. It just is very, very fun. It seems like if I were a location scout and I found this, I would be fucking stoked,
Yeah.
So Funch goes all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. Oh, I meant to say something, Jenny. This is a very small point, but still. When the bus gets there to the hospital, they've narrowed it down. The Franklin cops, honestly, doing not a bad job at tracking where this man might be. They're like, that's the bus that he would be on if he's on a bus.
Yeah.
Mulder goes up to the bus driver and is like, have you seen this man? And the bus driver says, yes, I picked him up. We drove 4 feet and then he went ape wire. And I thought, ape wire? I never know how words are used. So maybe I always thought it was ape or haywire. But it is. I was right. Kristin was right. It is ape or haywire. But this man says distinctly and in the captions, he went ape wire. That is not a thing. The end. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk on one time that Kristin knew a phrase correctly.
I love it. Speaking of phrases that are correct, once Edward starts shooting, poor Edward is really going through it. The sheriff says, all units forthwith.
I wrote that.
Kristin, get yourself a sheriff who says all units forthwith.
What does forthwith mean? Jenny, for the listeners at home, Jenny has to look it up. So I'm not the only host of this podcast that doesn't know the meaning of forthwith.
Especially in official use. Immediately. Without delay.
Forthwith. Okay. Jenny, get thee to the recording forthwith. Okay. So yes, he is shooting from the top of this clock tower. It appears he does not hit anyone, thankfully.
Thank God.
And thankfully, he has the kind of gun that needs to be loaded 1 bullet at a time, which...
Love
we
that.
We love that. We love that
the TVs in the department store didn't say, go automatic.
Right.
Probably automatic weapons were not for sale in a department store at this point in
1994. Yeah, maybe not. Also... Ed says, I've seen that hoss and I don't want to see that again, baby. What? No idea what that is, why he says that line. What? It's right before.
Now I'm Googling.
It's right before
I've
forthwith.
seen that.
So you probably got distracted by forthwith.
Yeah. I've seen that hoss and I don't want to see it again, baby.
Yeah.
That what we're saying? I got nothing. Google's got nothing, I should say.
Well, Mulder's gotten to the top of the clock tower as well now. And on his way, he pulls a real Bella Swan. And he...
I have the same note.
He tripped. And he fell and he hit his arm. And he's having a back and forth with Ed, who at first says, don't kill me, but then sort of realizes like he can't put the gun down. They won't let him put the gun down. So then he's essentially doing what all of these other folks have done with the cops when the cops have been there, is like they won't put the gun down, they won't put the weapon down, and so then the cops use force and then they die. So he's saying this to Mulder. He's saying, like, you make me put it down, then you do it. And Mulder tries to use what he knows about Ed to say, listen, if you don't put that gun down, one of us is going to shoot the other one, and then there's going to be blood everywhere. And Ed's like, oh, great point. Let me put this gun down. And sees Mulder has blood on his wrist.
Shrieks.
Oh, my God. An incredible shriek again from this guy.
Thankfully, Mulder tackles him and nobody has to die. Whew, for once.
Phew.
Just this once, Rose. Everybody lives.
Ed's wheeled away in a stretcher. This is a real horror movie ending, you know. Mulder picks up the cell phone to call Scully. We get the heartbeat back in the score. And then his phone says, all done. Bye-bye. Scully on the other end is like, Mulder, where are you? Mulder? So, Jenny, what's your interpretation of this ending?
I don't know what to make. I don't know what to make of this.
Okay. Is Mulder's fear talking to Scully? You know what I mean? Like, does he panic? Is his phobia that he has real feelings for Scully, but he doesn't want to have them?
No. If anything, his phobia is that the government or whomever sees all and knows all.
All done. Bye-bye.
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 See you next time.
That's my full commentary. Kristin, what are your thoughts on the X-Files season 2, episode 3, Blood? What? I don't know, but I'm gonna go out on a limb here. This probably belongs in my crystal ball segment, but I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that Mulder will not be seeing anything written to him in electronics by the time we get to the next episode.
Okay, let's hope so. Let's hope not. Well, Kristin, it's time for us to address your phobia. My noms and slots of the STAs.
Oh, I was like, sexual tension? I'm not afraid of sexual tension. Bring it on. You're the one who says it's none of your business.
Sexual tension award.
Well, here we are again. Neck deep in the sexual tension awards. Here's the thing. This episode is not very sexy.
It's not.
But we've done our best.
Yes. Here we go again on our own, but not on our own because it's sexual tension. Going down.
Here we go again on our own is like a good Lone Gunman theme song.
Yeah. All right, Jenny, hit us with your sweet, sweet noms.
In slot number 1, sometimes there is a love so deep and yet so forbidden that it actually feels like fear. Therefore, I have decided to nominate in the first slot Edward and Blood.
He does suck it off of his fingertip, so.
Oh my God, his name is Edward. And Mulder falls like Bella running up the stairs. Okay.
Speaking of vampires, I would like to say inside of the Sexual Tension Awards, just because we're here, that LaToya Ferguson did note she was disappointed that this title of this episode was Blood because there were no vampires to be seen. And the title
Seems
did not
rude.
need to be blood, so we should have saved that for vampires.
Yeah. Yes.
Agree.
In slot number 2, it's none of our business, and yet we wish them unmitigated bliss together. It's Mulder in the latest issue of Celebrity Skin.
If he could just wrap up this damn case, he could get back home and open it, you know?
To his magazines. In slot number 3, sometimes when two people like each other, the way that they show each other is by roasting each other, and thus I direct your attention in this episode to the mothership, in particular Scully. Look at her roast. And in slot number 4, sometimes you don't understand an attraction. Sometimes it sort of like transcends your cognitive power or logic and reason. And it's with that in mind that in the final slot, I nominate me and a sheriff who says all units forthwith.
Yeah, that's fair. You've earned it for yourself, Jenny.
Thank you so much. If you'd like to cast a vote, I know this is not maybe the most compelling roundup of noms crammed into slots, but
if you can't
if
have
you'd like
us
to vote anyway.
If you don't want us at our forthwith, you can't have us at our mothership, you know?
Wow. Well said.
Thank you.
Please make your way over to bufferingcast.com/STA, where you will find the Sexual Tension Award poll. We would really appreciate your feedback and look forward to seeing the results.
That's also where you can find all of the results of the Sexual Tension Awards, should you be wondering how your votes tallied up in the weeks prior.
Indeed.
Sexual Attention Award.
All right, Kristin, who's the smuggest bitch of the episode?
I'll concede. I'll give it to Scully.
Scully.
Congratulations, Scully. I could not deal with Mulder in the first scene where the sheriff was like, so anyway, and then this thing, and then that thing, and Mulder is just silent. Just silent, paying no mind to this man. But
he is profiling. Let the artist profile.
Oh, wow. But yeah, we'll give it to Scully, episode 3.
Okay. Then our last task before we can close the filing cabinet is for you, Kristin, to take off your blue light filtering glasses, open wide your peepers, and yikes, it's really happening over there, and gaze deeply into the glowing amethyst orb that is Kristin's crystal ball.
Kristin's crystal ball, she can see it all. What's coming down the pike, I'm sure she'll get it right.
Okay, Kristin.
Yeah, I'm here, Jenny. I heard my crystal ball told me that you have some questions for me today.
Okay, yeah. So first I wanted to ask you, we are famously people who've invested a lot of time podcasting about a vampire show. And so far we've been served at least 2 episodes of this new series that seem like they're going to be vampire episodes, but they are not. We've had Eve, which was just chock full of exsanguination, not a blooded body to be found.
And 2
anywhere.
puncture holes.
2 puncture holes. Okay.
Rude.
And this episode is called Blood. But there were no vampires. How soon do you think we will see vampires, or something like vampires, or something that could be grouped with something that the show is willing to say vampires ? About, if we ever see it at all?
Season 4 or 5. I think that they're going to run the circles around lots of other things before they get to vampires. But they'll get there.
Okay.
They'll get there. There's too many episodes for them to not get there. So
Totally.
they'll get there. I wonder if there'll be any episodes that are like Alex Mack adjacent, you know? Probably.
As somebody who's never seen an episode of Alex Mack, could you help me understand what that means?
Like exposed to some kind of radioactive material and can now shape shift into something. I just accidentally dinged my pencil on my lamp, and I don't know if you could hear that at home, but what I learned is that now I can ring a bell. So if there's ever any need for me to ring a bell on the podcast, I now can. But yeah, I think, Alex Mack was exposed to some kind of radiation, right, guys? I don't know. I was a little old for Alex Mack, but I'm pretty sure she could. And then she could turn into a goo and slide underneath the doorways and then re-Alex Mack herself. And so she got up to all kinds of hijinks.
Yeah, radiation goo sliding under doorways. Got it.
Yeah, they'll do something like that. I mean, we know they're going to do ghosts, and we know they're going to do aliens.
We know they're going to do ghosts.
They're going to fucking do... How could you do aliens and not do ghosts? Come on.
Okay. So Kristin is certain they will do ghosts.
Yeah.
What else are you certain about?
Like, in terms of thematic episodes, well, obviously aliens, ghosts. I've already said, I think vampires. I'm putting vampires in the ring. Some kind of radioactive. I mean, we've kind of already had radioactive, right? That was the whole vibe with Fluke Man. But I think human-wise, that can turn into a goo of some kind or just like shapeshift. Toombs kind of is adjacent to that too, since he could had stretchy fingies and the lot.
Yep. Anything else from the sort of horror sphere or any particular cryptids you think we might encounter?
I mean, we've already seen the Jersey Devil. We haven't done anything with We haven't done anything with Bigfoot yet. We've just heard a lot of talk of Bigfoot-esque. So we'll probably touch on Bigfoot again. And yeah, we'll do other cryptids. Of course we will. We'll probably do all the cryptids, Jenny.
How about this, Kristin? Name every cryptid that you can think of.
Bigfoot.
Okay.
The guy in the water.
Guy in the water. Could you be more specific?
He's just like a guy in the lake, and he comes up sometimes, and people want to see him, but they never do because he's a cryptid.
He's a guy, though?
No, he's like a dragon worm-like thing.
Can you be more specific?
I don't know. You know who I'm talking about. The guy in the lake.
Hey.
Who am I talking about?
What lake? Where?
I don't know.
A dragon, a worm.
He's like a slithery dude that you had a bat. You know why I know him? Because remember my sister drew you that logo of him in the spelling out Jenny Owen Young's?
Yeah. Who is that?
Pythagorean theorem. Python, Monty Python. What's his name, Jenny? Pseudonym. It begins with a P, right? Pegasus. Is Pegasus a cryptid?
Pegasus is like a fantasy creature. But you think we'll see Pegasus?
No.
Kristin, I think you're thinking of the Loch Ness Monster.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Also known as Monty Python and the Pythagorean theorem. Sure.
There must have been some other word in there too, Anyway, those are the only two cryptids I know of.
Okay, hang on. The only two cryptids you know of are Bigfoot and Monty Python, aka the Loch Ness Monster.
Well, yeah, and the Jersey Devil. Is the Jersey Devil a cryptid?
And the Jersey Devil, but that's already been checked off. You can't think of another.
What is a cryptid? A creature that we've never seen but maybe exists.
Animals that cryptozoologists believe may exist somewhere in the wild, but whose present existence is disputed or unsubstantiated by science. So yes, what you said.
Great. Pegasus. Loch Ness Monster. I mean, a unicorn, not Pegasus, maybe not the Pegasus, but isn't a unicorn a cryptid? People don't think that exists. I mean,
no, I don't think so.
You're talking to me like these people aren't saying that Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster and the Jersey Devil exist. It seems just as reasonable.
I know, but it's just okay. What about, have you ever heard of Mothman?
Oh, yeah. I don't know a lot about him, but I've heard about him.
There is also a differentiation between Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and then Yeti / Abominable Snowman.
Oh, Yeti is the snow Bigfoot. Got it.
Don't forget about the Mongolian death worm.
Oh, yeah. We talked about him. Honestly, Jenny, right now you're not making a compelling case that I've forgotten anything major.
Okay, weirdly, a megalodon is listed on the cryptid page, but that's not up for debate.
Just a dinosaur?
It's a friggin' shark.
A shark, right. Anyway, this has been a great time around the old ball, you know?
I'm surprised that the crystal ball didn't alley-oop you any
no
cryptid names.
The crystal ball looked at me and said, Kristin, you've got this one, you know?
And you sure did.
I sure did. Oh, well, Jenny, let's get the hell out of here.
I think that would be best. Friends, I'm Jenny Owen Youngs, and when I'm not watching the X-Files or Buffy, I am usually making music. My latest record, Avalanche, is out now. You can find it in the streamy and buy-y places that you might generally look for records. And hey, I have some New England tour dates coming up in May. I'm coming through Boston, Portland, Maine, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Northampton, Massachusetts. You can find info and get tickets at jennyowenyoungs.com, and you can give me a shout on social media places at Jenny Owen Youngs.
I'm Kristin Russo, and when I'm not finishing my PhD on all of the cryptids in the world, I am usually working with and for LGBTQ communities. You can learn about my work on my website, KristinNoeline.com. That's KristinNoeline, and use that spelling to find me on socials. Who are we? Together as a team.
Well, together as a team, Buffering a Rewatch Adventure is on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at BufferingCast. You could drop us an email at hello@BufferingCast. You can write to the Crystal Ball at crystalball@BufferingCast, or you could come hang with us in person at Buffy Prom in Brooklyn, New York this April.
Hell yes. Come to Buffy Prom. Do it. If you want to support us and our work, please, we would love for you to do that. We are found at patreon.com/bufferingcast. All of this information, including our episodic schedule and all of the things we have going on, can be found on our website, bufferingcast.com.
This episode was produced by Kristin Russo, Jenny Owen Youngs, and LaToya Ferguson, with support from our consultant, Mackenzie McDade. It was edited by John Mark Nelson. Kristin, I think the status of this X-File is all done. Bye-bye.
Perfect.
Dana Schwartz, and this is Rise or Die, the official companion podcast for Peacock's original series, Those About to Die. On this podcast, I go behind the scenes with the show's cast and creators to learn how they brought their brutal vision of Rome to life.
Gosh, people will freak out.
Rise or Die launches on July 18th. Watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, wherever podcasts are available.